Hello and welcome. This is Business Incorporated coming to you live from Lagos. I'm Chimize Obi Iwagu. On the show today, Nigeria's GDP contracts minus 1.3% in the fourth quarter of 2016 and minus 1.51% in the year. Uganda's economy expected to grow 5.5% in the year to June 2018. Plus, global markets await Trump's congressional speech. Let's get started, and we'll begin with the markets. And starting off here in Africa, the market in Egypt has left the 12,000 mark to drop 0.85% at intraday. Now, all the other markets were also in the red. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, of course, was down 0.11% at 25,346.46. That's at 12 noon Nigerian time. The South African market was down 0.42%. In the Middle East, all the markets are also in the red at intraday. Qatar's index slipped 1.05%, weighed down by banking shares. Qatar National Bank fell 1.6%. Saudi Arabia's index extended the previous session's 1.1% decline, dropping 0.72% as all but two of the 12 listed banks fell. Saudi British Bank lost 1.2%. And of course, Dubai Financial Market and Abu Dhabi were also down 0.80% and 0.09% in that order. The European markets opened higher today as investors waited for details on tax reforms in the U.S. and digested fresh corporate earnings. Now, for more on the markets, let's bring in my colleague at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, Olaf Krieger. Good afternoon, Olaf. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump put both political parties on notice on Monday that he intends to slash opening spending on many of the federal government's most politically sensitive programs that's relating to education, the environment, science, and poverty, to protect the economic security of retirees, and of course to shift billions more to the armed forces. What is the market's reactions to this budget plan by Trump?
Well, first of all, I have to say those announcements are, of course, highly welcome here and on the Frankfurt trading floor, because that means that Donald Trump is going to spend a lot of money, and that's what investors and also traders here in Frankfurt and all over Europe highly like, you know. And but there are so many questions: when and where is he going to spend all the money? All we know so far is that there's a huge increase in military spending, but we have no further details what he's exactly going to do to bring back the U.S. economy on track, to kickstart the U.S. economy. But first of all, to spend more money, and even if Donald Trump announced such plans, is highly welcome here at the Frankfurt market.
Now, looking behind you, I can see that the DAX is just not behaving well this afternoon. And we know that investors, of course, are watching as Trump is set to address the joint houses of Congress and outline his agenda. And one will wonder if that is the reason we're having the DAX drop that way. His agenda would include plans for tax reform and infrastructure spending. Now, what exactly is the market and investors hoping to get from this speech?
Further details. What are the plans exactly about? That's what investors are waiting for, and there's a lot of money in the sideline here in Frankfurt to invest, but there's one certain point for investors and traders: what precisely will he do if he address Congress later on the day, because if there's a development which is not fitting in the strategy here at the Frankfurt stock market, a lot of traders will be ready to push the sell button, that's for sure.
Well, let's hope we get that further details from Trump's speech later on in the day. But let's look at French economy. The inflation figure shows a small decrease to 1.2%. That's in February, after reaching 1.3% in the previous month. What does this say of the economy as the country prepares for election in April?
Well, I have to say that's still miles away from the ECB target of 2% inflation. And there's another thing for France shortly before the presidential election, because the economy is still not out of the crisis, especially the unemployment rate in France is tremendously high. Even younger people and even well-educated younger people cannot find a job in France, have to leave the country, and this is something the second largest economy in Europe can simply not afford. So you can see there are a lot of trouble in the Eurozone ahead without any reliable solutions so far.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Olaf. But of course, all eyes will definitely be on Trump for his speech later today. Thank you very much, Olaf. I'll move on now to the U.S. West Stock Index futures point to a lower open today, which could finally break the Dow's winning streak as investors await a key speech from President Donald Trump in the evening. Investors are looking ahead to President Trump's speech to a joint session of Congress in the evening. He's expected to discuss his bigger plans for defense and stimulus spending. He's also expected to address repeal and replacement of the Affordable Care Act. But markets are most interested in what he has to say about tax reforms. On the earnings front, Bank of Nova Scotia, Target and SeaWorld are among the companies reporting before the bell. After the bell, Palo Alto Networks, Salesforce and Jazz Pharmaceuticals are expected to post earnings. Now, there are lots of data on the calendar for today. The second reading of fourth quarter GDP is due at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The previous reading was 1.9% growth. The U.S. trade deficit for January and the advanced inventories report are expected at the same time. The Chicago PMI reading and consumer confidence figures will also be released. And in Asia, markets finished mixed today despite U.S. gains as investors await a key speech from President Donald Trump. The Nikkei 225 in Japan